Hi people, it's me again as always, Morning Ravenberg. The header speaks for itself as always. Does gender matter at all in any way whatsoever in the occult? So essentially the occult, semicolon, men v women, men versus women. You know, what are the differences, if any? If you're a man or a woman, or let me rephrase that, do you have any advantages or disadvantages naturally as well as otherwise based on your gender? The answer is yes. Before I continue, as always, you can check the link in the description of this video and you'll find again the link to the article that aligns or corresponds with this video. This video, as always, will be embedded or as usual will be embedded in the article. I just finished writing the article and I'm essentially going to read from it. This video is primarily for people that don't feel like reading the article or people that overlooked it somehow because they're not subscribed to my website, for example. You name it. If not, then I recommend that you do so if you want to. If not, then simply keep watching my videos, obviously, for the video version, content-wise. The answer is yes, whether you're a man or a woman, believe it or not, has both advantages as well as disadvantages when practicing the occult. See below for a horizontal column of both genders and their aforementioned strengths and weaknesses. And then for men you have a column, and then for women. For men, they're more disciplined, they can bear substantially more levels of pressure, they're more fixed, more stable, they have a naturally higher level of intellect, higher level of success rate overall. They can accomplish more long-term goals and objectives. The drawbacks are that it takes longer to build up energy and to release it, and overall practice is harder to do, or practicing overall is harder to do. And then for women, they're more naturally spiritually fluent, they can absorb energy quickly and more easily, they have higher levels of natural clairvoyance, they're more adaptable, they can practice more easily and in a shorter span of time or a shorter time duration. They're more sensitive to energy, so very vulnerable. They're highly prone to mental and overall spiritual instability. Those are the drawbacks. And they have greater difficulty coping or dealing with hardship or setbacks of any kind when it comes to practicing. Now, before I continue and I elaborate on the content of the article, which I just recited, let me just remind people that this is not a competition. This video is not meant as a competition to compare men versus women, as in who is better. In all honesty, it's clear who is better, but that's not the point. The point is both genders need each other, both fulfill a whole, like yin and yang, or like plus and minus, and so on and so forth. I'm only writing this so that people are aware of this for the sake of information, as in, if you're a woman, you'll find 9 out of 10 times that these statements that I made apply to you in the woman section, obviously, and if you're a man, vice versa, the same thing. There are differences between, the same way that there are differences between men and women, obviously, there are differences. Within a spiritual context, the planet that you can compare men the most with is Saturn, and with women, the planet that you can compare them the most with is the moon, at a spiritual level, mind you, at a spiritual level. At a primal level, it's more Mars versus Venus. But again, spiritually, it's the closest you'll come to, in a matter of speaking, is Saturn and the Moon. There are differences. I'm going to keep this video short, obviously. The same way that there are biological differences where both men and women, blah, 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 etc., etc. Again, I'm not going to point out the differences between men and women because it's obvious. My point is, yes, it also applies to spirituality. Men, generally speaking, they have a natural, when it comes to practicing the occult, or when it comes to their overall level of spirituality and mental strength, men are substantially stronger than women. I repeat, men are substantially stronger than women, and that's also why they have more mental stamina. They can bear more hardship. I mean, they can take a lot more in the way of negativity. It doesn't matter what you throw at them, it'll take a lot to take a man down when it comes to spirituality. The drawbacks are that men are also, men are more fixed. Those are all the beneficials, like I said. Guys in general, they have a naturally higher level of intellect when it comes to the occult. They can rationalize things more, etc., 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 compared to women. Compared to women. They are overall also more stable. For overall reasons I mentioned, you can really compare them to Saturn. The drawback is that it takes them longer compared to women to build up levels of energy and to overall finish up their practice to the point where they are successful. That's pretty much what men stand for. So the keywords here are strength, stamina, durability, longevity, and being stable. The drawbacks are that progress and overall level of development is slow, and what was the other thing again? As well as release overall. Overall energetic release also goes slowly. So essentially, guys are stable, strong, sturdy, but they're slow. They're more intelligent, but they're slow in every aspect of the word compared to women. That obviously makes sense when you look at it. When you look at the big picture. Now, for women are naturally speaking a lot more flexible, adaptable when it comes to spirituality. They absorb energy ridiculously quick, and they can also release it quickly. That can be a drawback depending on how you look at it. It can be both a benefit or a drawback, so it's not really, it's just neutral. It's neither here nor there. Women are more prone to movement mentally, spiritual movement. They're more flexible, like I said, more adaptable, more mobile, more fluid overall. They have a natural inclination towards the occult, specifically towards spiritual energy compared to men. They have a natural level of empathy or spiritual sympathy, you name it. It's easier for them. It comes to them more naturally compared to men to deal with energy, to handle energy and to deal with it. That's why practicing for them overall, it's a lot quicker. It doesn't take a woman as long as it would take a man. She can do things a lot quicker for reasons I already mentioned. A high level of adaptability, mobility, flexibility, just really flexible. Now, the drawbacks are women are much more vulnerable compared to men. The same way that women, naturally speaking, are much weaker physically than men, the same thing applies for spiritual energy. Make no mistake. Women are really swift, etc., but they are not, I repeat, they do not handle pressure of any kind well. The second a woman is subject to spiritual pressure, there is a high probability that she will collapse. So women are very vulnerable, and they're also much more prone to mental instability as a result or as a reason. Last but not least, they have difficulty dealing with any kind of hardship, any kind of setback in their practice, any difficulties that they run across, serious difficulties. Oh boy, they immediately start collapsing. It's just like, I'm broke, game over. So you can see both benefits and drawbacks for both parties, but you need to let it also be noted, like I said in the article, that these are general attributes that obviously apply to most, but not all. This is a generalization, so it applies across the board, but not literally to every single thing. It doesn't apply literally to every single person based on their gender. What else can I say? Now that I'm saying this out loud, it bears a striking resemblance to the natural. You see that it's not just physical, obviously, this is also spiritual. And that's why I chose these two planets. Saturn and the Moon really represent both of these attributes for men and women the best. The same way that Saturn at a spiritual level, occult-wise, Saturn is known as the slow guy. Saturn is strong, consistent, fixed, and Saturn can deal with anything, almost anything. Doesn't matter how tough something is. The drawback is that it's slow. Oh boy, so slow as fuck. Everything else, everything that can go faster takes super long by comparison. The moon, same thing. The moon by default deals with movement. One of the main things it deals with is movement. Everything. Moon is all about movement, movement, movement. Okay, fast, flexible, mobile, agile, like water. Pop, 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 pop. That's why the moon rules water. The drawback, is that the moon also changes quickly. The same way that you've got a waxing moon so ridiculously quick. Full moon, oh, so beautiful. Yeah, it also immediately wanes almost, pop, 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 and it disappears. It disappeared. It came as quickly. It comes as quickly as it goes. I mean, it goes as quickly as it comes, and vice versa, obviously. So yeah, those are the. That's pretty much it for men versus women. Guys that practice the occult, just like their physical stature or their natural biological stature indicates or dictates, they are strong, sturdy, they are fixed, stable, they can weather any difficulty, any hardship. It does not matter what happens. They have a much higher chance of, they're much more resilient. They have a much higher chance of overcoming said hardship. The drawback is that it takes them longer. They also have, like I said, natural levels of intellect, higher levels of intellect, rationalizational ability, as in being able to do. The drawback is that everything is super slow. It takes guys a while to get to a devastatingly serious level in general. The drawback is for women. This is something that women are notorious for. No offense to them, as beautiful as and as charming as women are. They are notorious for not using intellect or rationale, just outright rationale, when making decisions overall, and that also applies to the occult. Women have the very unwise, but albeit not obsolete, tendency to essentially think with their feelings rather than deal with facts. They essentially let their feelings and emotions guide them, which is, generally speaking, not a good idea, depending on how you look at it. Anyways, in the occult, it's the same thing. Women, it's pretty much the opposite, just like the females as a whole at a physical level. Women are, spiritually speaking, flexible, fast, agile, fluid, like a boomerang. Okay, they can absorb energy a lot quicker, release it a lot quicker. It comes to them naturally. That's why you have a lot of witches, etc., with no adequate training, and yet these bitches can still put off. No offense, I'm simply using the word bitches in a fast and loose fashion. They can pull off stuff left, right, and center. You know, it's not based on training, rigorous training, and based on skill. It's based purely on the utilization of innate abilities. I repeat, the utilization of innate, INNATE. Innate abilities, so natural abilities, and utilizing them as such, and simply making use of it. And yeah, that's why a woman can pick up the occult, anything occult related, anything that deals with managing spiritual energy a lot quicker, a lot faster compared to a man. But the drawbacks are that women are also highly vulnerable compared to men, and they're also they are highly prone to instability and highly vulnerable, and they also lack a substantial level of power. They have a good, decent level of power, don't get me wrong, but still they lack the devastating power that men, generally speaking, have as well in the occult. So it's not just, again, a physical comparison. Men, generally speaking, if a male sorcerer curses you, yeah. If a female sorcerer curses you, it's going to be a pain in the ass, but you can't compare it to a guy. With a guy, you've got a serious problem on your hands. If you take two sorcerers, both are power level 7 on a scale of 0 to 10. Both are slightly above average in terms of skill level and whatnot. And that guy were to curse that woman, oh boy. The woman, it's safe to say that the woman would have substantially more difficulty compared to the guy. The guy would be able to handle it, higher probability, or has the highest probability of being able to handle it. But the woman will immediately start to waver, and it will disrupt her life and throw her life into disarray and everything. Yeah. And obviously, with the instability, like I said, comes down, and the high level of vulnerability also comes down. High chance of succumbing to mental illness. Again, you can easily look this up. I think I already covered it. That's what I was thinking about just now. That's why I paused briefly. Because I was like, I think I've already covered this in the past, not this subject, but something slightly similar. Oh yeah, I remember it now. You can check it in the end screen of this video. I'm going to link it. Women are more sensitive, psychically sensitive. I remember. You can easily look this up, honestly. You'll see that the majority of women, of people based on gender, that are mentally ill or that have a tendency to be mentally ill, to check themselves into a rehab facility or any kind of mental health clinic or anything like that, are women. Okay, so bluntly put, the most insane people on this earth are women, essentially, unsurprisingly. With a guy, it would take a lot more and a lot more pummeling and damage and negativity to succumb to mental illness. But with a woman, it doesn't take all too much. Okay, again, I've seen this with my own two eyes. Women have a much higher tendency towards mental illness and just being outright bona fide insane compared to guys. Off the top of my head, the amount of insane guys I've seen in my life, I think once or twice, a guy that was just like completely gone mentally. Maybe a couple of homeless guys, etc. Women, oh boy, I think at least 10 or 12 over the course of my life. At least 10 or 12. And this is despite the fact that these weren't homeless women or anything like that. Not all of them, a couple of them were homeless. For the rest, the others were they were barely hanging on by a thread, so to speak, within society. Or they had normal lives. Well, normal in a relative sense. But for the rest, yeah, they were really like, just cuckoo, just completely wow. Just gone, mentally. So yeah. Anyways, let me know what you think as always, and as usual. And until next time, as always, and as usual.